Welcome to the November edition of the Hornet Spotlight. And as with the seasons, it is a time of change. We just completed our first 2-week intersession and break, fall break, with the new balanced calendar. We felt like that went extremely well. I know one of the goals here at the high school as we move on with the balanced calendar is to find more positive enrichment activities for students during the intersession. One thing that has come up, and please note parents, the intersession is when the enrichment activities will be held, and the break is not going to be enrichment activities. So you can kind of go by your school calendar. If it's break week, we're on break and there won't be any enrichment, but during intersession, that's when all the activities like the college visitations and some of the hiking and some of the other enrichment activities took place here at the high school. So please make that note, but we are very happy with our first intersession. Also, as just like the change of the seasons, we're going from the spring sports seasons, the fall sports seasons into the winter. The fall sports teams finished the year up extremely well. We had a very fine ending to our football season, winning 3 of our last 4 games. The football team ended very strong. We made a very, very good showing in the sectional, beating Howe and then eventually following to Indian Creek. But the football team, Coach Weller and their staff should be congratulated for a very good season this year. Also, the girls soccer team ended up as the runners-up to Warren Central in the girls soccer sectional, so they were very proud of their winning season. While the volleyball team came up a little short in their sectional to Tri-West, they did have a winning season, so we were very happy for those squads, especially as they ended up their season. Before the month of November is over, we will have boys and girls swimming going on. We will have wrestling, boys and girls basketball, a lot of activities going on from the athletic point of view. Cheerleading, of course, is be competing as well. And all of that will be taking place in November. But the big thing in November, as I'm sure everyone is aware, is the Marching Hornets. They will be competing in the state finals, 4th consecutive year. We are the runners-up from a year ago, and we plan to move up 1 spot. So make sure that you're at Lucas Oil Stadium to support Mr. Wynn, Mr. Bradford, Mr. Carney, and the entire band staff and those hardworking students as they compete to bring home a state championship for Beech Grove High School. We wish them good luck, and obviously in December it'll be old news, but I'm sure we'll update you on that at that time. So it is a huge time for everyone. We look forward to moving on into the second quarter with athletics, with academics, and with the co-curriculars headed up by the band. I know the competitive choir season also starts up. Their traditional opening contest is at Southmont, and that's in the middle of November. I believe it's the 17th. So they'll be firing up their competitive juices as well. So all of our students will be representing Beech Grove in a very positive manner in either academics, co-curricular, or extracurricular. And we look forward to having all the people here in town coming out and supporting our student athletes and students, period. Today on the Hornet Spotlight, we have our November Alumnus of the Month selected by the Renaissance Committee. And today's inductee is from the class of 1969. His name is Steve Bogard. And congratulations, Steve, on your selections, and thanks for coming in today. We appreciate having you.
My pleasure.
Steve, like you said, graduated from the class of 69. I think when we looked at the board when you were here earlier, 4 or 5 from your class, right?
Yes.
So it's a very strong class, obviously some very successful people such as yourself. Tell us a little bit about your class, a little bit about what you were in this building. You were one of the first classes to graduate from this building. Tell us a little bit about what the climate, what the culture was like here in the high school in the late 60s.
Well, in the late 60s, we had a lot of things going on. The Vietnam War was heavy on our minds as we were approaching our 17th and 18th birthdays. We were concerned about the military. The draft was still in effect. We were concerned about the political environment too. There was strong conservative feelings in the country, as well as strong liberal feelings in the country, represented by some of the activities in the let's say the Chicago Democratic Convention in 1968. Richard Nixon was running at the time, I believe. LBJ had just stepped down. So there was a lot of diverse political things going on at the time, and fortunately for us, our government economics teachers were very good here at Beech Grove to allow us to speak our minds and comment on things such as the Vietnam War or many of the things that were occurring at some of the protest rallies and things, because as you know, let's say at Kent State University there were 4 students killed. This was a very emotional time for us as we were looking to make our mark in the world as we looked to graduation there in the late 60s.
And you mentioned in the classes, what types of things were going on in your government, your econ classes? How did that manifest itself in those classes? Were there group discussions, or it was just pretty much, obviously having lived through that time as well, I know what it was like in our school, but was it a topic of was it a big time topic of discussion, or was the school kind of insulated from that?
No, it was a big time topic of discussion. I specifically remember our teacher in those subjects, Mrs. Lockridge at the time, who I think went on to become an attorney herself, conducted many fruitful discussions, and we would have students that would take sides, and we would discuss our views. So it was a very positive environment for us to share what we felt about what was going on in the country and the world at the time.
When you were going through, we'll kind of shift gears a little bit here, talk about you specifically. As you were going through high school at that time, did you have any clue about what you wanted to do or what you wanted to pursue once you left the high school? Were there any classes or any activities or anything going on that was kind of molding Steve Bogard in, well, you know what, I kind of like this. This is pretty good stuff. I think I might want to pursue this once I leave. Well,
there were several things that interested me. I was fortunate enough to have a pretty good academic background. Had made the National Honor Society at first pass my junior year. Was fortunate enough to be ranked high in the class. I truly enjoyed chemistry and mathematics. But I think the other thing that helped me was our English department and our communications to learn how to write and to speak. Our teachers here allowed us to write essays, write assignments based on anything we wanted to do. I recall, again, writing an assignment about the Vietnam War, how I thought maybe at the time, maybe we shouldn't be there, you know. It was very interesting. So that's the environment that we had. How it influenced me and what I wanted to do, I had mixed emotions about a lot of things. I had pursued Air Force Academy as a situation, but yet in my heart I'm not sure where I stood war-wise, but here, you know, military academy was an option, and it was prestigious, and I felt like it was something I wanted to pursue. I knew at the time that strong science background, that I felt like chemistry or chemical engineering would be something I would see as a career for myself. And I was working with some music part-time, both through my church and in local rock and roll bands too, and so I thought about perhaps maybe going to Butler School of Music. So I had a couple of options out there, and in the end decided to go to Purdue University and study chemistry with the hopes of getting on with a major pharmaceutical company such as Eli Lilly and Company.
Okay, so that kind of foreshadowed what's happening here. You went to the Lafayette campus, or you went?
I actually went to the campus in Indianapolis. There was what we used to call Purdue Extension, located up by the current fairgrounds, was at 38th and College Avenue, basically, or 38th and Keystone, something like that. Did a year there, and then I had an opportunity to get employed at Lilly as just well, I'll call low-level laboratory technician, but with the hopes of Lilly as a reimbursement, college tuition reimbursement program to help fund my way through college. I was from a family of 10 children, so there was not a lot of funds, so I was pretty much on my own to try to get myself through college. So I did not go to the Lafayette campus. I ended up doing all my education here at the local Indianapolis campus. In 1971, Purdue and IU merged to become what's now IUPUI, and then the main campus became close to White River, or the Medical Center campus, where it's out just west of, on the west side of Indianapolis downtown. So that's how I got my education, and then once I finished my four-year bachelor's degree in chemistry, we had a very nice program at IUPUI to continue on for master's study in chemistry and biochemistry, and I pursued a master's degree a couple years after that. So it was a lot of evening schools, a lot of work, but you know, persistence paid off, because I ended up having what I consider a successful career at Eli Lilly and Company as a result of that education.
You spent your entire working career at Eli Lilly?
Yes, I did.
As a chemist?
Yes, I started as a what's called a bench chemist, organic chemist, back in the mid-70s. My first assignments were to perform reactions that would make new antibiotics. An antibiotic that was very successful, a world-renowned antibiotic, was called C-chlor. I was part of a team that discovered that. A little later on, I became a chemist that did specialty work in fluorination chemistry, and one of the compounds that was discovered via our fluorination chemistry was a compound called fluoxetine, which you know as Prozac, the world's most successful antidepressant. So I have two major drugs in the mid to late 70s that I was involved with on the research teams via Eli Lilly and Company because of my desire here at Beech Grove to get involved in scientific activities post Beech Grove High School.
And how many years, I know you mentioned you've just been recently retired, how many years did you work for Lilly then altogether?
42 years total.
42 years.
About 3 years as a laboratory technician, and once I finished my degree, my undergraduate degree in 1973, Lilly promoted me to full associate chemist, and then after that there were a variety of positions both in research as well as quality operations and manufacturing operations, and then ultimately led me to my last 15 years with the company where I was in regulatory affairs, where I dealt a lot with agencies such as the FDA or the equivalent in Europe and Japan. So very exciting times, very, very a high-pressure job.
Right, there's a lot, yeah, absolutely. A lot of guidelines there.
A lot of guidelines,
a lot of
yeah.
guidelines.
A lot of policy and guidelines.
A lot of red tape. You mentioned you were in a family of 10. Tell us a little bit, talk about your family, you mentioned your children, your grandchildren, and your siblings before we came on air. Talk a little bit about them, if you don't mind.
Well, I grew up just close to the old St. Francis Hospital, a family of I had 10, well, there were 10 siblings total to my parents, 8 of which graduated here from Beech Grove High School. All, I think, are fairly successful in their own right. From one is a professor of nursing at U of Indy, another is a CEO of his own company near Dallas, Texas. Other is a successful builder in Johnson County. I can't remember everything, but everybody did well, and everybody had great experience here at Beech Grove High School, and hopefully the name Bogard is left imprinted as a positive name through a lot of teachers and a lot of the community here.
Now, where in the pecking order did you fall among the 10?
I was third.
You were third from the bottom or third from the top? Third from the top. Third oldest, okay. Thinking back, you obviously had a very successful career, and you've helped a lot of people through your work. And you mentioned that you received some guidance here at the high school. Is there anything that, looking back at your, I know I'm taking you back a ways, your high school career, anything that you wish you had done differently? We all have things I wish I'd done. What kinds of things do you think were positive from your experience here at the high school, and things that you wish you had maybe done a little bit better?
Well, I think the things that were positive was to be, number one, fully engaged in the class. The teachers were so good at providing us information. I always heard that, you know, Beech Grove High School, oh, you go to Beech Grove, if we were competing against other teams, oh, you're just a little school. I never felt that we didn't get the same education as any of the big schools around Indianapolis, the North Centrals or Cathedral or Bray-Buff or anything. All the science in the world was I learned right here, both math and science, and I competed very well at Purdue, both in grades and the class rank, and then again at Eli Lilly and Company. So it all started, I think, at Beech Grove, basically knowing that we had the correct curriculum, the correct teachers to tutor us, to make sure that we learned. And so I think I stayed engaged in the classes and got a lot in return in terms of you know, academic awards. I think staying involved in the community, I was active in our church, the Catholic Church, both musically and helping out with some other things. I was involved with some of the extracurricular clubs here at Beech Grove, and we would go out and perform service work. I think that was great. What I would do different? Gee, I really don't know. I feel like...
Sounds like you're pretty satisfied.
Yeah, I'm very satisfied. I think by staying involved, I mean, one thing I would say to the students today is that don't sit around at idle time. You know, of course, we didn't have video games and all those things that the children have today. But I think being involved, doing things with friends, doing positive things, having a good conscience, you know, don't do things that you would be afraid to admit to your parents, you know. And that was just a lot of fun. And certainly we had our times where we would have our social gatherings where boys would meet girls and we would do things. We listened to a lot of music at our parties, the British Invasion, the Beatles, the Beach Boys. There was a lot of things happening then, so we felt like we had the greatest music in the world, which I'm sure every generation thinks. And so we would wear out our record machines. Everybody had a record player, and everybody had the old 45 records, and we spent a lot of time walking down Main Street to a few of the businesses that would sell records, and we enjoyed saving our money and purchasing those records to support the music industry. And there's been a lot of great times associated with listening to that music, which you can remember exactly where you were if you were, you know, at a ball game or participating in cross-country practice or something when certain songs came on the radio, and it's just a very happy time to have been a part of Beech Grove community and the high school and the whole situation. So I wouldn't change a whole heck of a lot, but I think I was one of the fortunate ones that saw school as a pathway to achieve whatever I needed to achieve, and I'm proud to say that I think I've met pretty much most of my goals.
Well, I think after listening to that, you can understand why the Renaissance Committee selected Mr. Bogard. He a very successful career, and we are very honored to have you today, and would like to give you this token of our appreciation for being recognized as the November of 2012 Alumnus of the Month, Steve Bogard. Congratulations again, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Clevenger.
We will be back next month with the December Hornet Spotlight, and again, congratulations to Stephen Bogard, and also good luck to the Marching Hornets as they compete for the state championship this month.